First, the USDA's Justice for All non-discriminatory statement, which simply states that all persons must be treated equally without regard to their race, color, national origin, sex, religious creed, disability, age, political beliefs, or reprisal or retaliation for prior civil rights activity, and that our institution provides an inclusive space for all. For more information on the And Justice for All statement, please visit the USDA's website.
My name is Theo Banks. I'm a nutrition educator with Rutgers Cooperative Extension of Camden County through the Department of Family and Community Health Sciences. Today I'm going to be making a salmon wrap that has all 5 food groups found in my plate. I'm also going to be talking about why my plate can be a healthy tool for planning healthy meals and snacks for you and your family. So before we get started, let's talk about my plate. This is my plate. It's a diagram that can help us eat healthier by helping us understand and think about how to make balanced and well-portioned meals. You can see there's 5 food groups, and it also shows their relative portion size to each other. And this can help us visualize what a healthy plate can look like. Obviously, not all of our meals are going to be so cleanly divided between the 5 food groups. Some are going to be mixed up, but at least we can think about the ingredients that we're putting in recipes and the relative portion sizes for each of them. So let's go over the 5 food groups really quickly and talk about why we want them on our plate. First, we have fruits. Fruits provide us with vitamins and minerals that our body needs. It also is a good source of fiber, which is good for our digestive system. We can get fruits in a variety of different forms. There's fresh fruit, frozen, canned, dried, even juice can count as a serving of fruit. But what we want to be cautious of is the total amount of sugar and the concentration of sugar in each of those forms. So for that reason, we say to really focus on whole fruits, getting whole fruits and mixed fruit in throughout your day as part of your meals, as part of snacks, even as dessert. Because the juice, the dried, those options have pretty concentrated amounts of sugar, and canned fruit can be a great affordable option, but you want to make sure you're getting ones that have no added sugar. So look for ones that say canned in 100% fruit juice rather than ones that are in light syrup or heavy syrup. Vegetables, similar story. We want to look for vitamins and minerals and fiber, and we can get them in the form of fresh, frozen, and canned. With the canned vegetables, you want to look out for the sodium content. So look for ones that say low sodium or no salt added. For grains provide us with carbohydrates, give our body energy to get throughout the day. And we want to look for whole grains whenever possible, because whole grains will also be a good source of fiber and will have a little bit more vitamins and minerals as well. So look for whole grain products. We'll talk about those more in a future lesson. For protein, a lot of people associate protein with meat, and meat is a great source of protein. But with meats, we recommend people look for lean meat options. Those are ones that are going to be low in fat, specifically saturated fat. We don't want too much of that. So look for lean meats. Poultry, like chicken and turkey, are great options. Seafood is a great option as well. So keep an eye on the fat content of those meat products. And then we can also find protein in plant sources. Things like beans, nuts, and seeds are all really good sources of protein. So we recommend people mix it up. Get some plant protein and get some animal-based proteins as well. And then dairy. Dairy provides us with calcium, helps us build strong bones. It's important for people of all ages. But similar with the protein, we want to look for low-fat dairy products. So look at the fat content of the milk, yogurt, cheese, things like that you're buying, and look for low-fat or fat-free ones whenever you can. If you don't consume dairy products, you can get calcium from other products. A lot of plant-based milks and even some juice these days are calcium fortified. It means they add calcium in there. So if you don't have dairy products, it's still important for you to find sources of calcium. And we'll talk about that a little bit more today. So let's go over our recipe now. We are making a salmon wrap, and the salmon I'm using today is actually canned salmon. I found canned salmon in water so that it's not canned in oil. And this can be an affordable option, a lot more affordable than fresh salmon usually is. But if you can't find salmon, or if you just prefer it, tuna can be an affordable, healthy option as well. And from there, I diced up an apple as a fruit option. And then the recipe called for red onion, which I have in here. And then I also added some shredded carrots and diced celery because I had them on hand. This is that type of recipe that whatever veggies on hand, you can probably throw them in here, make like a salmon salad type situation, and it's probably going to be pretty good. And then I have non-fat Greek yogurt today. This is going in replacement of mayonnaise. It can be a healthier, lower fat option. If you're still going to add mayo to this recipe, maybe consider going half and half. Do half yogurt and half mayo. The less fat we're adding to this recipe, the better. And then we have some shredded lettuce. I'm using spinach today because, again, that's what I had on hand. But any type of lettuce, any type of greens would be nice as a topping for this. And then I am using whole wheat tortillas today for the wrap. Alright, so the process, really simple. Open and drain the canned salmon, which I've already done. Just getting all of the liquid out of there. With canned salmon, it has the skin and the bones in the can, so you have to remove both of those. It can be a little strange the first time you do it, but you get used to it pretty quickly. It's a pretty quick and easy process. They come off really quickly. And then after that, we are going to mix all of the ingredients together. So I've got my salmon. I'm going to add my veggies and my fruit in. And then I'm going to add the yogurt on top. I'm going to take a minute to just mix everything together. And ideally, if you're making this recipe at home, it helps to let everything chill in the fridge for about an hour or so that all of the flavors kind of meld together. It absorbs whatever seasonings you're putting on. And so this is a recipe that it's helpful to make it in advance. It'll just get better the longer that you let it sit and the longer that you give it. But for today, we're just going to go ahead and assemble it right away. I'm adding salt and pepper as my seasonings for today, keeping it simple, but there's a lot of things that you could add to this. I think curry powder would be pretty tasty in this, or if you want to make it spicy, you could add some cayenne or something like that too. Lots of different directions you could take this in. I always measure salt out in my hand before I put it in, just to avoid going overboard and avoid adding too much of it in on accident. Alright, so we got all of our ingredients mixed together now. So I'm going to grab my tortilla again, and I'm just going to scoop it out. So you can see this made a lot. This was just one can of salmon, a small red onion, a small apple, and whatever veggies I had in the fridge, and this could easily be enough to feed a whole family for lunch. Got my spinach on top, and just going to wrap it super quick. Sometimes I use toothpicks to keep everything in place. And if I was going to eat it for later, if I was making this like for lunch for myself in advance, I would cover it up. But since I'm going to be eating it right now, it is good to go. So let's talk about what went into this recipe in terms of my plate. So for fruits, we had the apple. For vegetables, we had onions and lettuce, and I added celery and carrots in. For grains, we had the whole wheat wrap, so we had a whole grain in there. That's fantastic. For protein, both the salmon and the yogurt are going to provide a bit of protein. And for dairy, again, we have the yogurt providing calcium, and the salmon actually provides calcium as well. The small fillet bones that are in the cans, they are a great source of calcium. They're perfectly safe to eat. They've been cooked at a high enough temperature that they're super soft and easily digestible. So it's perfectly okay to leave those tiny fillet bones in there, and they actually are a great source of calcium, especially if you aren't getting calcium from dairy products. So keep that in mind as a potential alternative source for calcium. So we used all 5 food groups in my plate today, which is great. It's what we want to shoot for recipes. It'd be ideal to have at least 3 of the 5 food groups in most of the meals we're eating, and to try and get every food group every day in some form, including getting them in as snacks throughout the day as well. So really think about, what are your favorite meals? What are the meals that you make with your family all the time? And then use my plate as a guide to think about how you can just make a few small changes to make them healthier. So for example, maybe you could serve a smaller portion of meat and serve an extra vegetable or a fruit on the side. Maybe you can swap out a refined grain product with a whole grain product. That would be a healthier substitution as well. The more often you think about these things, the more you can make small changes over time, and that's going to be going to make it easier to make healthy changes. So that's why it's so helpful to keep my plate around. I recommend try and keep it out somewhere, try and keep a visual on your fridge or somewhere you're going to see it, just as a reminder to think about it as you're coming up with your meals. Thank you, and I'll see you next week.